Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The Empire laughed at Earth's defenses. Then we wiped them out in minutes. Admiral Tuck stood on the bridge of the Cronin flagship, his tall frame towering over the other officers. His scaled skin glimmered under the blue lights of the command center as he studied the planet on the main view screen. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses, so primitive, so vulnerable. "Report," he ordered in his deep, commanding voice. Officer June, the chief intelligence analyst, stepped forward with a data tablet. "The planet is called Earth, Admiral, inhabited by a species known as humans." He scrolled through the information gathered by their long-range scanners. "They have achieved nuclear capability and basic space travel, but remain pre-FTL. Their orbital presence is minimal, primitive satellites, a small space station, and some debris. No defensive capabilities detected in orbit." Admiral, Take's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his species. The Cronin Empire had conquered 37 star systems, and each new conquest followed the same pattern: find a developing world, overwhelm them with superior technology, and add their resources to the empire. Earth would be no different. Their militaries, tossed, fragmented, the planet is divided into nation-states, each with its own defense forces. They use primitive projectile weapons, rudimentary energy weapons, and nuclear devices, nothing that could threaten our ships, Jim replied. Commander Hin, TOS second in command, joined them at the view screen. "Another easy conquest for the Empire," she said, mirroring Tuck's thoughts. Tuck nodded. "Begin standard intimidation protocol, position battle cruisers over their major population centers, let them see our power." The bridge crew sprang into action, sending commands to the rest of the Cronin fleet. 20 massive warships, each the size of a small city, broke formation and descended toward Earth's atmosphere. "Send the standard message," TAC ordered. "Surrender or face extinction. Give them 6 hours to respond." Officer Jum bowed slightly. "It will be done." Admiral Tack returned to his command chair and settled in. These conquests had become routine, almost boring. The primitive civilizations always followed the same pattern: initial resistance, then fear, then surrender. The Cronin Empire has not faced a true challenge in over a century. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our weapons on one of their smaller cities," suggested Commander Hyun. "It usually speeds up their decision." Tuck considered this. "No, not yet. Let them panic first, their leaders will turn on each other, making our conquest easier." He looked at the view screen again at the peaceful blue planet that had no idea what was coming. "Prepare a landing force, we'll begin resource assessment as soon as they surrender." On Earth, chaos erupted as the alien ships appeared in the skies. Each vessel was enormous, metallic, and utterly silent as it hovered over major cities: Washington, D.C., Beijing, Moscow, London, Tokyo, and others. In the Pentagon, emergency alarms blared. Director Kim rushed through crowded corridors, pushing past panicked military personnel. As head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, she had prepared for this moment, though she had hoped it would never come. "Status report," she demanded upon entering the Crisis Command Center. Screens displayed the alien ships positioned over cities worldwide. New footage showed civilians in panic, traffic jams as people tried to flee, and military forces scrambling into defensive positions. Lieutenant Park looked up from his communication station. "Director, we're broadcasting a message on all frequencies in all languages." "Put it on," Kim ordered. The main screen switched to display an alien figure, tall, with scaled skin and cold, reptilian eyes. The message was simple and chilling. "People of Earth, your planet is now under the authority of the Cronin Empire. You have 6 hours to surrender your governments and military forces. Resistance will result in planetary bombardment. This is not negotiable." The room fell silent as the message ended. General Cho, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, slammed his fist on the table. We need to launch everything we have, nuclear deterrent, experimental laser platforms, no. No, Kim interrupted, that's exactly what they expect. Conventional weapons won't penetrate their shields. How can you know that? Demanded Ju. Kim's eyes met his because, we've been preparing for this day for 20 years. The general's expression changed from anger to confusion. What are you talking about? Get me a secure line to all G20 leaders. Ignoring his question, Priority Alpha Authorization Code Shepard, Kim ordered as her staff scrambled to establish the connections. Kim turned to Lieutenant Park. I need to get to Mount Rainier facility now. Yes, Director Park replied, already calling for transport. General Cho grabbed Kim's arm as she prepared to leave. Director, what is going on? What haven't you told us? Kim looked at him calmly. 20 years ago, a small scout ship crashed in the GOI desert. It wasn't the first alien contact, just the first one we managed to keep secret. Since then, an international coalition has been developing defensive technology based on what we recovered. That's impossible, Cho whispered. I would have known. No, you wouldn't, Kim replied. Only those with direct involvement knew. It was the most closely guarded secret in human history. A young officer approached Director Kim. Your transport is ready. The helicopter will take you directly to the Mount Rainier entrance. Kim nodded. General, keep them talking. Buy us time, make them think we're panicking and arguing among ourselves. And what will you be doing? He asked. Kim was already walking away. Saving humanity, she thought. The helicopter flight took 30 minutes during which Kim watched news footage of people around the world reacting to the alien ships. Some prayed, some rioted, some stood in fields with welcome signs, all of them were unaware that humanity had a plan. The helicopter landed at what looked like a normal park ranger station near Mount Rainier. As soon as Kim stepped out, armed guards appeared from concealed positions. Authorization, Kim, Director Code Shepard's crook, she stated. The guards nodded and escorted her to what appeared to be a maintenance shed. Inside, one of them placed his hand on a hidden scanner, the floor descended, revealing an elevator deep beneath the mountain. The elevator opened into a vast underground complex humming with activity. Scientists and military personnel from dozens of nations worked at stations monitoring global data. This facility was one of 7 similar installations around the world, all built in secret. General Lee, commander of the Shepard Protocol Forces, met her at the elevator. Director Kim, we've been monitoring the Cronin communications. They're exactly who we thought they'd be. How ready are we? Kim asked, walking briskly beside him through the facility. The AEGI network is at 98% capacity. All orbital platforms are active, but in stealth mode, ground-based systems are online worldwide, he replied. They entered the main control room, a massive chamber with a holographic display of Earth at its center. Glowing points indicated the positions of the alien ships. They've positioned themselves exactly where our predictive model suggested. Notably, they have no idea what we've built. Kim approached the Central Command Station. Have all G20 leaders confirmed activation orders? A communications officer nodded. Yes, Director, all have provided authorization. Kim took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since they discovered they weren't alone in the universe. The recovered alien technology had given them a head start, but they'd had to develop most of the defensive systems themselves in secret while maintaining the appearance of a pre-FTL civilization. She placed her palm on the main scanner. Activate Protocol Shepard. A warning flashed on the screen, warning, Protocol SHIPD activation. While our V-Earth Defense K abilities once activated tactical advantage of his CCDC, while we lost CERM. General Lee, standing beside her, asked, Are you certain, Director? Once launched, there's no turning back. Kim looked at the display showing the alien ships hovering over Earth cities, threatening everything humanity had built. She thought of the arrogance of these invaders, so certain of their superiority that they hadn't bothered to look deeper, to question why Earth's defenses seemed so primitive. She nodded firmly. They think we're defenseless, let's prove them wrong. Her finger pressed the confirmation button. Around the world, hidden systems began to power up. The Cronin Empire was about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating humanity. 20 years ago, a team of Chinese scientists had been tracking a meteor shower in the Goi Desert. What crashed wasn't a meteor. Dr. Sun had been just a young researcher then, fresh out of university, when his life changed forever. The object had carved a half-mile trench through the desert before coming to rest. By the time Dr. Sun arrived with the research team, the Chinese military had already secured the area. No one was prepared for what they found. It was a ship. Dr. Sun remembered standing in a Mount Rainier facility and looking at the holographic recreation of that fateful day, small, damaged, but definitely not human. The craft had contained 2 dead aliens, reptilian beings with scales and elongated skulls, but more importantly, it carried a functional database. It took months to decode even a portion of it, but what they found changed human history. Earth was not alone, and some of its galactic neighbors were hostile. That was the day everything changed, Dr. Sun told the new recruits who had just received clearance to join Project Shepherd. The day human nations realized we needed to set aside our differences or face extinction, the discovery had been kept secret from the public. Representatives from major world powers met in a remote location to view the evidence. They were shown translated passages from the alien database describing the Cronin Empire conquerors, who sought out developing worlds to subjugate. We knew they would find us eventually, Dr. Sun continued, but the ship gave us a head start, a chance to prepare. In the 20 years since, the world's brightest minds had worked in secret to reverse engineer the alien technology. Project Shepherd facilities were built deep underground in 7 locations around the world. The Mount Rainier facility, where Dr. Sun now served as chief scientist, was the central command hub. Dr. Sun walked through the vast underground complex. Thousands of engineers, scientists, and military personnel from dozens of nations worked together with a single purpose: protecting Earth. The project had been given unlimited resources while maintaining absolute secrecy. We needed to appear primitive, Dr. Sun explained. Any sign of advanced defensive technology would alert potential invaders that we knew they were coming. So they built Aegis, the Advanced Earth Global Integrated Shield. Its components were hidden in plain sight: weather satellites that were actually energy weapon platforms, ocean research stations concealing shield generators, mountain observatories housing sensor arrays. Each piece looked ordinary but contained technology decades beyond what the public knew existed. Dr. Sun approached the main monitoring station where his team tracked the positions of the Cronin ships. They have arrived exactly as the predictive models had forecast. Status report, he requested. All Aegis components are online and ready, replied Engineer Han, his fingers moving rapidly over the control panel. Power levels at optimal, shield generator standing by, weapon systems charged. Dr. Sun nodded. And our signal intercepts are working perfectly, confirmed Officer Jin from the communication station. We've been monitoring their fleet transmissions since they entered the solar system. Their encryption is exactly what we expected based on the scout ship data. This had been their greatest advantage for years. Earth had been listening to Cronin communications, learning their language, tactics, and, most importantly, their weaknesses. The Cronin relied heavily on their advanced chals, but the Aegis team had identified the exact frequency patterns needed to penetrate them. They're completely unaware that we can hear everything they're saying, Jin added with a slight smile. Admiral Tak just ordered his weapons officers to prepare for a demonstration strike if our leaders don't respond to their ultimatum soon. Dr. Sun checked the countdown timer. The 6-hour ultimatum would expire in 15 minutes. Around him, the control room hummed with tense energy as technicians made final preparations. Director Kim entered the control room, followed by General Lee and the facility personnel, who straightened at their stations. Dr. Sun, Kim, greeted him. Are we ready? Yes, Director, Aegis is fully operational. All components are responding and synchronized, Dr. Sun replied. Kim nodded and moved to the central command platform. The holographic display showed Earth with the positions of the Cronin ships marked in red, blue points indicated the hidden Aegis installations. The President is connected via secure line, announced a communications officer. All 20 leaders are standing by for activation. President Choi's voice came through the speakers. Director Kim, General Lee, Dr. Sun, the Security Council has unanimously approved the activation of Aegis. The diplomatic team has made one final attempt to communicate with the aliens, but they remain firm in their demands. Dr. Sun exchanged glances with Director Kim. This was the moment they had worked toward for 2 decades. Mr. President, Kim replied, we are ready to activate on your command. There was a brief pause on the line before President Choi spoke again, his voice firm and clear. The Cronin ultimatum expires in 10 minutes. They expect us to surrender. Instead, we will show them that humanity will not be conquered. Another pause, then the command, activate Aegis, defend Earth. Throughout the control room, personnel moved with practiced precision. Dr. Sun took his position at the main engineering station and initiated the startup sequence. Powering shield generators around the world, disguised installations coming to life. Ocean platforms that appeared to be research stations began generating powerful energy fields. Satellites that the world thought were for weather monitoring shifted into defensive positions. Shield grid forming, reported Engineer Han. Energy synchronization at 97% and climbing. On the holographic display, a web of blue energy lines began to appear, connecting the hidden installations and forming a protective network around the planet. The Cronin are scanning us, Officer Jin reported from the communications station. They've detected power spikes from our installations. Dr. Sun nodded. Let them look. They're about to learn we're not as primitive as they thought. On the main screen, they could see Admiral Tuck on the Cronin flagship, looking confused as his officers reported the unexpected energy readings from Earth. They're targeting what they believe is a military installation in the Pacific, warned Jin, preparing to fire as a demonstration. Director Kim's voice was calm. Let them fire first, then show them what humanity can do. Dr. Sun watched the display as a Cronin warship positioned over the Pacific charged its main weapon. For 20 years, he had worked toward this moment, hoping it would never come but ensuring humanity would be ready if it did. Aegis shield network at 100% capacity, he reported. All weapon systems locked on target and ready. The Cronin ship fired, sending a powerful energy beam toward an uninhabited island in the Pacific. The beam struck the previously invisible Aegis shield, which flared bright blue upon impact. The energy was absorbed and channeled through the network. Shield holding, Yar. Sun confirmed. Energy successfully captured and redistributed to weapon systems, power levels increasing. On the communications channel, they could hear the confused voices of the Cronin officers as they realized their weapon had no effect. Director Kim looked around the control room at the faces of people from nations that had once been enemies, now united in Earth's defense. She nodded to Dr. Sunday. The Cronins have no idea we've been intercepting their communications for years, said Dr. Sun, his hand hovering over the activation control. We know every weakness in their ships. And now, Director Kim added, we show them why they should have been more careful about who they threatened. The Cronin ultimatum had expired. Earth's response was about to begin. Admiral Tuck stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship as the ultimatum timer reached 0. The humans have failed to respond with their surrender, just as I had expected. New worlds always believed they could resist until the Cronin Empire showed them the price of defiance. The humans have not surrendered, reported Officer June. Their leaders appear to be arguing among themselves. Tuck nodded. This was normal fear, it made primitive species turn on each other. It made conquest easier. Begin disciplinary strike. He ordered, target their Antarctic region as a warning. Minimal power, we don't want to damage the planet's resources. Yes, Admiral, responded the weapons officer, targeting southern polar region, no settlements detected there. Fire, commanded the massive Cronin warship positioned over Antarctica. Its main weapon powered up, glowing bright blue, before releasing a powerful energy beam toward the frozen continent below. Other ships in the fleet prepared to fire at their assigned targets as well. What happened next shocked every Cronin on the bridge. As the energy beam raced toward Earth's surface, a shimmering blue barrier suddenly appeared, intercepting the beam. Instead of striking the ice, the energy rippled across the unexpected shield, spreading like water droplets on a pond surface. "Report," shouted Tak, leaning forward in his command chair. "Sensors detect a planetary shield." Admiral Officer June's voice cracked with disbelief. "The energy beam was completely absorbed." "Impossible," shouted T, rising to his feet. "Our pre-FTL scan showed no advanced technology. The shield appears to have been hidden," reported the sensor officer. "It's activating all around the planet now." On the main view screen, Tuck watched as a blue energy field became visible, surrounding Earth in a protective cocoon. But something else was happening. The points where their energy weapons had struck were now glowing brighter. "Energy readings from the planet are increasing," reported Warjun. They're absorbing our weapon fire and redirecting it all." "Ships, cease fire immediately," Tuck commanded, but it was too late. Several Cronin vessels had already launched their attacks, only to have their energy beams caught by the shield. "Admiral," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth on the view screen." A human female appeared. She wore a simple military uniform with no elaborate decorations, but her eyes held a look of calm confidence that made Tuck suddenly uneasy. "This is Director Kim of Earth Defense," she stated. "Your attacks have been blocked. We have absorbed your energy and added it to our own. You have one chance to withdraw your forces peacefully." Tuck's scales darkened with anger. "This is Admiral Tuck of the Cronin Empire. Your deception will not save you. No primitive world can stand against our full might." The human expression didn't change. "You've already lost, Admiral. You just don't know it yet." The transmission ended. Tuck turned to his officers. "All ships, full power to weapons. Target their major cities, break through that shield." Before his orders could be carried out, the sensor officer shouted, "Energy spike detected from Earth, multiple locations." Suddenly, precise energy beams shot upward from what had appeared to be ordinary Earth installations, weather platforms, satellite dishes, and ocean buoys. The beams were thin but incredibly focused, striking the Cronin vessels at exactly the points where their shield generators connected to their power systems. "Shields failing on sectors 7 and 12, called the defense officer. "They're targeting our connection nodes. How could they know where to hit us?" On Earth, Director Kim watched the tactical display with Dr. Sun and General Lee at her side. The holographic projection showed the positions of all Cronin ships and the status of Earth's defense network. "Aegis shield holding at 94% capacity," reported Dr. Sunday, "power absorption at optimal levels. The energy from their weapons has been successfully converted to power our offensive systems, all targeting systems locked on Cronin shield junctions," added an officer from the weapons station. "First strike has successfully penetrated outer defenses on 17 ships." General Lee nodded with satisfaction. "Return fire, all stations. Coordinated strike pattern Alpha throughout the Aegis network." Weapons that had been disguised as innocent Earth technology came to life. What looked like a weather station in the Pacific fired a pencil-thin beam of energy at the exact point where a Cronin ship's main power core connected to its shield generator. A satellite dish in Africa rotated and released a pulse that disrupted the engines of another ship. The humans weren't firing wildly, each shot was precisely calculated, targeting specific vulnerabilities. The Cronin didn't know they had revealed, through their communications, their connection nodes. On the Cronin flagship, chaos erupted. "We've lost shields on decks 4 to 9, shouted a panicked officer. "Auxiliary power failing," called another. June, look up from your station. With horror, Admiral Tuck heard, they're not just firing randomly, they're targeting specific systems. It's as if they know our ship designs. Tuck gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered from another impact. Launch fighters. Target their weapon emplacement. But as the fighter bay doors opened, precisely aimed energy beams destroyed the fighters before they could launch. How are they doing this? Demanded Commander Hyun. Their targeting is too precise. In the Mount Rainier facility, Officer Jin monitored the Cronin communications with a small smile. They're in complete disarray, Director. Their commanders are asking how we could possibly know their vulnerabilities. 2 decades of preparation, Kim replied quietly. Let us finish this quickly. On her order, the Aegis network executed its final attack sequence. Rather than destroying the Cronin ships outright, the weapons targeted their propulsion and navigation systems, immobilizing the fleet. On the flagship, Officer June turned to Admiral Tuck with a look of defeat. Admiral, we've lost engines on all vessels. FTL systems are unresponsive, weapons are at 12% capacity and falling. Commander Hyun looked at the tactical display in disbelief. How could a pre-FTL civilization do this? Another impact rocked the ship, fires broke out on lower decks. The mighty Cronin flagship, conqueror of dozens of worlds, hung crippled in Earth orbit. Admiral, reported the communications officer, the humans are hailing us again. Tuck's pride shattered. He nodded silently. Director Kim appeared on screen once more. Admiral Tuck, your fleet is disabled, your weapons are ineffective against our shields, your engines are offline, and you have no reinforcements within range. What is your response? Tuck looked around at his damaged bridge, at his injured crew, at the tactical display showing his entire fleet rendered helpless in minutes. For the first time in his long military career, he faced total defeat. The battle clock on his console showed that 4 minutes and 37 seconds had elapsed since they had fired their first shot. In less than 5 minutes, the undefeated Cronin Empire had been brought to its knees by a world they had dismissed as primitive. Tuck straightened his posture one final time. His voice was low but clear as he spoke the words no Cronin admiral had uttered in centuries: we surrender. On Earth, in control centers around the world, humans erupted in cheers. 20 years of secret preparation and international cooperation, unlike anything in human history, had paid off. Humanity had faced its first extraterrestrial threat and won. Director Kim exchanged glances with General Lee and Dr. Sunday. This is only the beginning. The Cronin database mentioned other empires, other threats, but today Earth had proven something important: underestimating humanity was a serious mistake. Well done, everyone, Kim announced to the control room. Phase 1 complete. Now let's prepare for Phase 2, joining the galactic community on our terms. The Earth shuttle docked with the crippled Cronin flagship 8 hours after the surrender. The human boarding party wore simple blue uniforms with a new emblem, Earth's continent surrounded by a protective shield. They carried sidearms, but kept them holstered. This wasn't a raid, it was a diplomatic mission. Director Kim led the team, accompanied by Dr. Sun, General Lee, and a small security detail. As the airlock cycled and the doors opened, they got their first close look at their would-be conquerors. The Cronin were taller than humans, with scaled skin in various shades of green and blue. Their eyes were large, with vertical pupils that narrowed in the bright lights of the docking bay. They stood rigidly at attention, their posture military despite their defeat. Admiral Tuck waited at the center. His dark blue scales and ornate uniform marked him as the commander. His pride was visibly wounded, but he maintained his dignity. A translation device carried by Dr. Sun converted their words in real time. Kim stepped forward and spoke clearly, I am Director Kim of Earth Defense. We have come to discuss the terms of your surrender. Admiral Tuck studied her for a long moment before responding. I am Admiral Tuck of the Cronin Empire. He paused, then asked a single word, how? The question contained volumes. How had Earth defended itself? How had they known the Cronin were coming? How had they hidden their technology? How had they defeated the undefeated? Kim looked around at the damaged ship before answering. 20 years ago, one of your scout ships crashed in our Geoi desert. The crew did not survive, but the ship's database remained intact. We learned about the Cronin Empire. Tuck's eyes widened slightly, the first strong emotion he had shown. We learned about the Cronin Empire, Kim continued. We've been watching you for decades, every transmission, every battle tactic. We were ready before you even found us. Impossible, said a female Cronin officer, standing beside Tuck. Our communications are encrypted at quantum levels. Dr. Sun stepped forward. The encryption keys were in the database. We've been listening to everything, your patrol schedules, your tactical manuals, your shield frequencies, your conquest plans. Tuck's scales darkened. What the humans would later learn was a sign of anger or embarrassment. And you hid your technology, Kim nodded. We knew if we displayed our advances openly, you would have approached differently. We appeared primitive because it gave us an advantage. General Lee spoke next, his voice firm. Your ships will remain disabled until we complete our inspection. Your crews will be treated according to galactic protocols for prisoners of war, which we also learned from your database. Tuck straightened his posture and asked, and what does Earth want from the Cronin Empire now? Reparations? Territory, information, Kim replied simply. Access to your complete database, star charts, details about other civilizations, and your promise to leave Earth space permanently. The Cronin admiral seemed surprised by these modest demands. You don't want our technology? Dr. Sun smiled slightly. We've already reverse-engineered most of it and improved upon it, as you discovered. The terms are acceptable, Tuck said after a brief consultation with his officers. The Cronin Empire acknowledges Earth as a sovereign power. As the formal surrender proceedings began, Dr. Sun connected a data transfer device to the flagship's main computer. The Cronin database was vast, containing star charts for thousands of systems, detailed information on dozens of intelligent species, and technical specifications for technologies humans had yet to imagine. Back on Earth, the mood was jubilant. News of the victory spread rapidly, though most details remained classified. People gathered in streets and squares worldwide, celebrating the unexpected defeat of the alien invaders. The 5-minute war, as it was already being called, had united humanity in a way nothing had before. But in a secure room aboard the Cronin flagship, the mood was solemn. Dr. Sun studied the data flowing across his screen, his expression growing increasingly concerned. Director, he called to Kim, who was finalizing surrender documents with Tuck, you need to see this. Kim excused herself and crossed to Sun's position. What is it? She asked. I found references to something called the Collective, he said quietly. It appears to be why the Cronin Empire has been expanding so aggressively. Kim leaned closer, reading the translated text. Another species, more than that, Sun replied. According to this, the Collective is a group of merged civilizations that absorb others forcibly. The Cronin have been conquering worlds to build a buffer zone against them. Are they a threat to Earth? General Lee joined them, examining the data. Not immediately, Sun said. They're at the far edge of Cronin space, but they're expanding, and the Cronin have been fighting a losing battle against their advance for decades. Admiral Tuck approached, having noticed their concerned expressions. You found the records of the Collective, he stated. It wasn't a question. Kim turned to face him. You didn't tell us the Cronin Empire was running from something worse. Would it have mattered? Tuck asked, we needed your resources to continue our fight, we needed your planet as a forward base for a war you're losing. General Lee observed, Tuck, shoulders slumped slightly, yes, for a war we are losing. The Collective has taken 8 of our core systems in the past decade. They do not conquer, they consume every being, every resource. Dr. Sun continued scanning the data. According to this, They use some kind of molecular technology to absorb sentient beings into their network, correct? Tuck confirmed, those who resist are eliminated. Those who cannot be absorbed are eliminated. There is no negotiation. Kim shared a long look with Lee and Sunday. What had started as a defensive victory was quickly becoming more complicated. Earth had repelled one invader only to learn of a greater threat on the horizon. How long? Kim asked. How long until the collective reaches this sector at current expansion rates? Perhaps 50 of your Earth years, Tuck replied. Unless they accelerate their advance. In that moment, Director Kim realized that the 5-minute war wasn't the end of something, it was the beginning. Earth had just announced its presence to the galaxy by defeating a major power, others would take notice, including the collective. We need to bring this information to the Security Council immediately, she told Lee and Sunday, Earth's defense strategy must evolve. As they prepared to return to Earth with their new knowledge, Kim looked back at the stars visible through the flagship's viewport. The galaxy was far more dangerous than they had imagined, even when preparing for the Kronan invasion on the planet below, humans celebrated, unaware of the challenges that lay ahead. They had won their first interstellar conflict, but the true test of humanity was just beginning. Dr. Sun stood beside Kim, his eyes also on the stars. The Kronan Empire was just the beginning, he said quietly. There are worse threats out there. Kim nodded. Then we better start preparing. The gleaming hull of the ESS Pioneer caught the sunlight as it sat in the launch bay of the orbital construction facility. Earth's first faster-than-light starship was a marvel of engineering, sleek and powerful, built using a combination of human innovation and Kronan technology. The sight of it still amazed Director Kim every time she visited. 6 months had passed since the 5-minute war, 6 months of rapid advancement as humanity prepared to formally enter the galactic community. What might have taken decades under normal circumstances had been compressed into half a year of intense work. Kim stood at the observation window with Dr. Sun and General Lee beside her. Surprisingly, Admiral Tuck, formerly their enemy, now an advisor to Earth's defense forces, stood with them. His cooperation had been unexpected but invaluable. After the initial shock of defeat, the Admiral had recognized a simple truth: the Kronan Empire needed allies against the collective, and Earth had proven itself exceptionally capable. She's beautiful, Kim said, gazing at the Pioneer. Hard to believe we built her so quickly. Your engineers are remarkably adaptable, Tuck observed. Once they understood the principles of Kronan FTL drives, they actually improved the efficiency by 14%. Dr. Sun smiled. We had a good foundation. The scout ship that crashed 20 years ago gave us a head start on understanding the technology. The galactic community is still in shock, Tuck continued, his scaled skin catching the light as he turned toward them. No one has ever defeated a Kronan fleet, let alone in minutes. The news has spread to every corner of known space. How have they reacted? General Lee asked, and Tuck made a gesture that they had learned was the Kronan equivalent of a thoughtful shrug. Some are terrified, others are intrigued, and many simply don't believe it happened. They think it's Kronan propaganda to explain our withdrawal from this sector. They'll learn the truth soon enough. Kim replied, checking the time. The launch ceremony begins in 1 hour. We should prepare. The group made their way through the orbital facility toward the main gathering hall. The station buzzed with activity as final preparations for the historic launch were completed. Engineers ran last-minute checks while diplomats from every Earth nation rehearsed the protocols they would need in their first official contact with other species. The Pioneer would carry representatives from 12 key nations, along with scientists, military personnel, and linguistic experts. Dr. Sun would lead the scientific team. The mission had 2 purposes: to establish attitudinal relations with peaceful civilizations and to gather more intelligence about the collective threat. In the preparation room, Kim found herself momentarily alone with Admiral Tuck. The Kronan studied her with those large reptilian eyes. You are concerned, he stated. It isn't a question, Kim nodded. We're moving very fast. 6 months ago, most humans didn't even know intelligent alien life existed. Now we're sending ambassadors to meet dozens of species. Your alternative was isolation, which the collective would eventually force upon you anyway. Tuck replied bluntly, at least now you have the advantage of surprise. No one expects a primitive species to arrive with advanced technology and the reputation of having defeated the Cronin Empire. Will they fear us or respect us? Kim asked. Perhaps both, Tuck replied. Fear and respect often walk together in galactic politics. The launch ceremony was held in the station's largest hall, with view screens broadcasting the event to billions of people on Earth. Leaders from every nation stood on stage, a physical representation of the new unity humanity had found in the face of external threats. President Choi addressed the gathered audience and the viewers at home. Today marks a new chapter in human history. The ESS Pioneer will carry our message of peaceful cooperation to the stars while also making it clear that Earth will defend itself if threatened. As the president spoke, Kim found herself thinking about how quickly everything had changed. Just 6 months ago, humanity had been divided and focused on internal conflicts. Now researchers who had once been enemies worked side by side. Nations that had aimed weapons at each other now aimed them outward, standing united against potential threats. The ceremony concluded with the official commissioning of the Pioneer. Here, the crew boarded to the cheers of the assembled crowd. Dr. Sun paused before entering the ship, turning to give Kim a respectful nod. They had worked together for 20 years preparing for the Cronin invasion. Now he would take the next step without her. Kim, Lee, and Tuck returned to the observation lounge to watch the launch. The Pioneer detached from the station smoothly, its engines glowing as it moved away from Earth. FTL drive powering up, reported a technician over the comms, all systems nominal. A moment later, there was a flash of light as the Pioneer activated its faster-than-light drive for the first time. The ship seemed to stretch, then vanished into the darkness of space, leaving only a brief afterimage on their retinas. They've done it, General Lee said quietly. Humanity's first FTL jump. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Engineers hugged each other, military personnel shook hands, and even some of the remaining Cronin officers watching from a separate section made their species gesture of respect. But Kim found herself staring at the empty space where the Pioneer had been. Humanity had taken its first step into a much larger, more dangerous universe. The ship carried their hopes, their diplomats, and their warnings about the collective threat. Tuck moved to stand beside her. You're still concerned? Kim nodded. We've achieved so much so quickly. 20 years ago, we found a crashed scout ship. 6 months ago, we defeated your fleet. Today, we launched our first FTL ship. It's a lot of change in a short time. Change is a constant in the universe, Tuck observed. Those who adapt quickly survive, those who don't perish. Is that Cronin philosophy? Kim asked. No, Tuck replied, that is the lesson your species taught mine. Later that evening, when the celebrations had died down, Kim stood alone in her office at the Mount Rainier facility. On her desk sat a model of the Pioneer next to a piece of metal salvage from the crashed scout ship that had started everything 20 years ago. A notification chimed on her computer. The Pioneer had successfully arrived at its first destination, a neutral trading hub where representatives from a dozen species conducted business. The initial reports were coming in, shock at the arrival of humans, surprise at their technology level, and intense curiosity about how they had defeated the Cronin Empire. Kim smiled as she read Dr. Sun's message, first contact successful, multiple species requesting diplomatic meetings, the galaxy is paying attention now. She looked up at the night sky visible through her office window. For thousands of years, humans had gazed at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they knew they weren't, and that knowledge had changed everything. The galaxy had thought Earth was defenseless, they would never make that mistake again. Humanity had announced its presence not with a whisper, but with a demonstration of strength that had sent ripples across the stars. Earth's new era had begun. Whatever challenges lay ahead, the collective, new alliances, technological advancements, humanity would face them united. They had proven themselves capable of defending their world, now they would take their place among the stars. As Kim turned away from the window, she found herself thinking of the day 20 years ago when she had first seen the crashed alien ship. "We are not alone," she had whispered then, feeling both fear and wonder. Now, watching humanity's first starship traveling between the stars, she felt only determination and pride. They were not alone, and they were ready.